Welcome to the program. I'm Mark Imperial. This segment's being brought to you by booksgrowbusiness.com. It's the place where busy entrepreneurs, professionals, and business owners publish to grow their practices, their businesses, and to leave a legacy. We're doing a series of spotlights on remarkable experts from across the country and in your town. Joining me on this segment is Corina Freitas, and she's the founder of Freitas and Associates. Corina, welcome to the program.
Hi, Mark. Thank you for having me.
Corina, tell us specifically, who are the types of clients and folks that come to you for your help?
Well, forensic psychiatrists mainly work with counties, jails, lawyers. Forensic anything really means that we're at the interface of our field and the legal field. So you know how forensic anthropology is old history and law, or forensic medicine is pretty much autopsies and the law. Forensic psychiatry is anything within the legal system that has a question about mental health in any way. So we do a lot of work with the courts mainly.
Got it. What are some of the biggest or most common, challenges or cases that come your way? Is there a commonality or something that you find is most challenging for folks in the legal community?
Right. So what's challenging and what's common, very different. And I'm glad you asked that question. So everyone is very enthralled when they hear, oh, you're a forensic psychiatrist. Please tell me about all these murderers you get to talk to or try to demystify or profile. And it's not really that glamorous as Hollywood portrays it. A lot of the work we do is competency to stand trial. We also do independent medical evaluations for people who have trouble at work or in some sort of other arena who are trying to reintegrate and had a trauma or something that was hindering them in any way from working at their full capacity. So the most common things we do is a lot more civil than, again, the glorified Hollywood kind of like, I'm going to meet Charles Manson tomorrow kind of work.
Can you give us just an example so we could wrap our mind around what something like that in a civil case would look like?
Sure. So when someone goes to court for any particular reason, if they are in any way disruptive or appear not to understand what's going on in court, or if their lawyer is bringing up the fact that they seem not to be understanding or communicating well with their lawyer, then a judge would order what they call a competency to stand trial. So then we come into play as forensic psychiatrists and interview the defendant and try to identify whether they understand enough to undergo the proceedings that they have to go through. And if they don't, we also have to ascertain whether the reason why they're not understanding is a mental illness or not. Because that's our arena. So they may be not competent, but it doesn't necessarily mean that they're not competent from a mental illness. And on the other side, just because they have a mental illness doesn't mean that they're not competent. So then we would be able to explain how, even though they have a mental illness, it's not really impacting their capacity to go what they need to go through in court.
Interesting insight. So you see in the movies a lot, people you throw around this term, oh, he's going to plead insanity. So
Right.
that sounds like another common one. Do you actually get a lot of that? And if so, like what does that entail and what has to happen? What do you go through to determine that?
So it really, I have had cases like that. It's very uncommon. I think that the statistics are about 1% of defendants try to even go through the what we call not guilty by reason of insanity plea, and even less than that, I think 0.1% is actually
So it's
successful.
more a movie thing.
It is totally a movie thing, yeah. But again, it does happen. And so what we have to do is similar, the evaluations in their structure and in their essence, they're fairly similar. We as forensic psychiatrists, we see the patient and then we try to understand really where they're coming from, about what they're saying. A lot of the times people are going to have a history of mental illness, and then a lot of folks think that just because of that, it means that they're not guilty by reason of insanity. Not necessarily. We have to look at the facts. Were they truly psychotic or manic or whatever it is that they're claiming at the time the crime happened? And the difference between a forensic psychiatrist and a clinical psychiatrist is that we do have to look a lot at the behavioral facts, at the crime scene, not just, clinical physicians, and I do clinical too. When you see a patient, you don't have any other information. You only have the patient in front of you. You talk to them, you get what you get at face value. You have to take that kind of at face value and make some opinions based on that. But when you're a forensic psychiatrist, you have the luxury of having police records, mental health records for the past 20 years. So you all are able to give a good timeline. You're able to say, well, this patient has been psychotic 20 times in the past. This is how it looked like. They're telling me that this period of psychosis now that caused them to do this crime looked like this, which is completely different than their normal. And then take into context what the crime scene looked like, the behavior at the crime, the behavior after the crime, and then we can make an argument whether it's plausible or not, or probable or not, that they were actually mentally ill at the time of the crime.
Dr. Freitas, tell us a little bit about like how you got inspired to get into your line of work. Like, how did you get started?
Well, I don't know. It's a funny story. My mom says so. I don't know how true it is, but my mom says that ever since I was 4, I said that I told her I wanted to know what goes on in people's heads. That could mean a lot of things. I'm a psychiatrist, so that could be it. But I've always been drawn to the military and the police. My father having been a Navy captain, not here, in a different country, but still. And so I think also I've had my grandfather who was a criminal prosecutor, again back in a different country. So I do have this, I guess, a bit of genetics or influence from family. And through the years, I've grown from family medicine to psychiatry to forensic psychiatry, trying to marry all of these kind of loves I have academically.
Excellent. Could you, before I ask you my last question, I'm curious, how do folks actually find a forensic psychiatrist when they need one? Is this more of a referral network thing that happens, or how do people come to find you?
Right, absolutely. So forensic psychiatrists are actually everywhere. No one really practices forensic psychiatry as a full-time job because we need to maintain clinical acumen. So most of us practice clinically in some form or another, and we have this, hidden talent of being a forensic psychiatrist. So a lot of it is word of mouth. A lot of it is if you're a member of the Forensic Psychiatry Association, you can find people there. There are some listservs and all sorts of places that names come up. But mainly, I think the most important one is word of mouth.
Dr. Freitas, for folks listening now that could certainly use your help, how do they find you, connect with you, and learn more?
Yeah, they can go to my website at freitasforensics.com. They can email me at freitasforensics@gmail.com. And they can also call me at 315-552-1667.
Dr. Freitas, this has been terrific. I really appreciate you taking the time and sharing fascinating insights with my audience today. And I wish you continued success for you and for all of your clients.
Thank you for having me. This was quite fun.
This segment's been brought to you by booksgrowbusiness.com. It's the place where busy entrepreneurs, professionals, and business owners publish to grow their businesses and to leave a legacy. That's all for now. I'm Mark Imperial, and thanks for joining us.